Valerie, thank you so much for being here with me today. For those that don't know you, can you make a brief presentation about your role, who you are, what you do, basically?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for having me here. First of all, I'm really excited to be here. I'm Valerie Shih-Lau, or online in the gaming world, I'm known as Silver. I'm the marketing and events manager here at Clair College. And here, aside from the obvious marketing and events, my goal here is to create opportunities and experiential learning for the students here. So that's kind of making events that they normally wouldn't be able to work outside of school, or giving them marketing experience, letting them experiment and use their creativity in my space. So that's kind of what I do here at Clair College.
Amazing. And how do you make sure that, because you work with a lot of students, and you're giving job opportunities from what you just mentioned, how do you coordinate all that, with students maybe having like class, some of them maybe having, like practice, all that? How do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be really honest. It is a really tough schedule. Like a lot of my marketing and events students and staff, some of them compete, some of them coach, part-time jobs, personal life, and like you said, like class as well. They all
Mhm.
have really, really packed schedules. I will be honest. Um, Coordinating with them, I think with marketing, it's unique in the sense that um, it's not like a regular part-time job. You don't just clock in, clock out 9 to 5. So with marketing, it's very easy for me to kind of like work around my student's schedule. So for example, my graphic designer, she kind of designs on her own time. I give her a deadline, and she takes her time to do it. As long as it's done within the deadline, I don't really care when or where she's doing it. So that's kind of how we coordinate with our students. As for events, um, before joining the team, the students are pretty aware that the workload is a lot. We kind of have like maybe like trial weeks for like 2 to 3 weeks where students kind of learn to time manage along with me to balance the events and marketing. But generally, they're really great, and I usually try to sit down and help them. We have weekly meetings to make sure we're on track, and if they start falling behind in school, then we start lifting the load of marketing and events off of them as well.
Mhm. That's amazing. And before we continue to talk a bit more like your day today, I would like to know like a bit more like from your beginnings, like what got you, to be silver, okay, and what got you the opportunity to be, in St. Clair College.
Yeah, I mean, um, it's kind of a long story. I guess I've been in esports for about 7+ years now, almost 8, I think now. So it's
Hmm.
kind of been a while. Um, I really started with a background in League of Legends, and by that I mean I played a lot of League of Legends when I was younger. We've all played video games, but my first competitive video game was League of Legends. And in high school, I actually attended League of Legends tournaments, and you know I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that was the peak of League of Legends. I would watch League of Legends every weekend. I would play in tournaments every month. And that's when I kind of learned that there's more to video gaming than just, playing games with friends online. So in high school, I was already kind of dipped my toes into esports. And then when I went to university, I knew the first thing I wanted to do was join the gaming club. And because after attending League of Legends tournaments, I knew I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to run my own tournament. So I joined my own esports club and I ran events there. And then after school, obviously, I can't take my esports club with me as much as I wanted to. Um, so I created my own company to run Fortnite events. It was called Toronto Fortnite. I'm based in Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I ran a little community called Toronto Fortnite to run Fortnite events. And over time, that kind of blew up because Fortnite was, the hot game at the time. I had parents coming to me, hiring me to run Fortnite birthday parties. I was running Fortnite tournaments at all these different venues, and that from there I kind of networked more, and I got picked up by a company called Waveform Entertainment, where I actually got to work on, proper esports events and large scale projects. That one was my first official, I guess, paid esports job. And then over time, um, you know, I've always had a passion in events, but I've also explored competitive operations in the tier two space. So I've worked with Pittsburgh Knights, and I worked in competitive operations there. But I found out that that wasn't really where my passion was. And in Pittsburgh Knights, I worked in competitive operations for about a year before I approached them and I said, hey, I think I think I can do something else here. I think I can do more here. So I pushed to pushed myself into a marketing role at Pittsburgh Knights. And if you've noticed in my history, I actually don't have a marketing background. I didn't go to
Mhm.
school for marketing. I didn't take on any marketing roles before that. I kind of just took it upon myself to learn. So at Pittsburgh Knights was my first, somewhat official marketing role, and it was really all self-taught, self-learning, and just taking inspiration from other companies. So that's where I really, really found my passion for marketing and events. And then from there, I came full circle. I started in collegiate at my club, and I wanted to come back to collegiate because I saw a lot of opportunity there. And St. Clair, the best in Canada. There's no one else better to do it with. So I ended up here at St. Clair in marketing and events, and it was just kind of perfect. The stars aligned.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, you didn't study that, but like honestly, like it was out of passion, and you put in the time, and at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
I mean that
yeah.
is that is kind of the benefit of esports. I think esports, a lot of roles are self-taught. You can kind of be anything in esports. Right now, it's such a new industry, and a lot of it, you kind of pick up on it yourself. So,
Mhm. And like, how many events do you guys do per year? Like, and do you go like, are you productive o- in specific seasons, or like you're all year round, like just jumping from one event to another? How do you work with that?
we have an event going on every single weekend at St. Clair. That's our goal.
Okay.
That's what we aspire to do. We always want something going on. Aside from that, we have matches every night as well, and I would also count that as like in an event because that's marketing that we work on every night. Um, because we are a school, so you would think we get the summers off, but we actually don't. Summers is usually a really, really hot time for my role specifically because that's when I can run more events and third party events without worrying about our students all over on campus. So it really is kind of a 24/7, 365 type of schedule for us here. How I balance it personally, I have a
Mhm.
really, really great team of students that I can rely on, and I think this is something that a lot of people are guilty of in esports is a lot of people take on all the work themselves because like I said earlier, esports is a very new industry. So you wear many hats. You're the marketing manager, you're the director, you're handling operations. In esports you
Mhm.
usually handle a lot. Um, but over time, over here, especially here, with having such a reliable team, I really learned to delegate, and divide my time and give it to the students. And you have to keep in mind the students want to do some of that work because they want that experience, right? um,
Mhm.
and then I also just in general I have a really reliable team here of coworkers. Um, so it's just learning to delegate your work properly. And I have students that do match coverage every other night for me, and students that come in and handle marketing campaigns on their own without really any of my guidance. So yeah, that's kind of how I personally balance it.
And how many students do you have
um
managing?
on the marketing and events team, technically I would say right now it's the beginning of the year, so it's a little bit of a lower number. I'd say maybe
Mhm.
we have like 8 consistent people that stay involved. But as we get through the year and as more events happening, a lot more students get involved. Like last year, at one point we probably had about 35 students consistently involved with events, broadcasts, and marketing.
My respects.
Yeah, yeah.
And with those events, like what are the objectives that you're trying to achieve? Is it to attract more students? Is it to generate revenue for the program? Is it to engage the whole college?
Mhm.
What are those objectives?
Um, the number one objective truly is to give learning and working opportunities to our students.
Mhm.
Um, Revenue is not really a priority on our list. Obviously, if we make money, we make money. That's great. But
Mhm.
a lot of these events are budgeted in mind to not get that money back. A lot of these events that we run, for example, last year we ran the Saint Scotland series, completely free entry. We just ran that at a loss because our goal was to have these consistent events through the year. and have more colleges involved. We invited colleges from over the States and all across Canada to come and get involved. And it gave our students so much LAN experience. You know, they learned how to run events on their own. They learned how to manage a bracket. They learned how to create floor plans, you know, prepare for all these things, run the broadcast. It's really about giving the students, you know, real life experience, because you know, we run an esports diploma program here as well. It's a 2-year long program, and things like that. I feel like the real value of the diploma is not, you know, the paper you get at the end of the program. It's the experience you get from, you know, being at St. Clair College and being able to run these events that you wouldn't get this experience anywhere else. You know, I know for me growing up when I was, you know, running events and esports, getting $200 from the school was the most difficult thing ever. You know, I had no budget at my esports club when I was younger. You know, they wouldn't give me anything. I remember at one point I had to buy my own, you know, computers so we can run games on it. So just, you know, growing up, knowing that I didn't have that opportunity to run these events to get that experience, I had to find it elsewhere. I want to give all that experience to the students here. So that's really the goal of our events, is letting them, you know, experiment, run their own events or try out different roles without the fear of, you know, having to build out a budget or using money out of their own pocket.
Yeah, I mean, failing, I mean, not for free, but failing in a secure environment is,
Exactly.
wow, it's amazing. Like, because I didn't get to do that in college, and I wish I
Exactly.
could, you know. So when I graduated, I would become more experienced in like and be more conscious when failing. So that's amazing what you guys
Exactly.
do. And those 8 students, do they are they part of the diploma and other degrees that
Uh,
are connected to broadcasting or events, or they're like
It's
independent?
it's honestly completely different. I have a handful
Okay.
of them that are in the esports program. Some of them are in like IT, networking. I remember last year, like I had a student in like the policing program. It's completely different. It's all, you know, you're not limited to it just to be in the esports program. Anybody can be a part of the marketing team and events team and get involved.
Amazing. I have a question from Kevin on LinkedIn. I'm going to read it to you. So, 2 questions here. With marketing being such an umbrella term for many processes, what are some of the biggest challenges you face? I imagine there's tough competition for visibility next to tier one esports. Is there a different target audience?
Different target audience. Oh wow, okay. I think one of
Let's start with the first one.
Yeah,
The
I think one of
challenges.
the toughest things in marketing, specifically in the collegiate space, is that unfortunately our target audience isn't, you know, like the tier one space. It isn't
Mhm.
the fans and all that. Like it, I would love to build a fan base for the college, but to be quite honest, our marketing target base is kind of like, you know, younger students that don't really quite know what to do yet, especially in this era where you know, school isn't always, you know, the next step anymore, right? There's a lot of younger students now, young teens that don't quite know where to go. So our target is kind of that, and also like parents. In our program, we actually, you know, we interact with a lot of parents. We meet with a lot of parents. We There's a lot of parents involved with the program as well. So that's kind of our target audience. And what was the first question? Like marketing being an umbrella term.
Yeah. What
The
are
challenge.
the term for many processes? What are some of the biggest challenges you
Mm.
face?
Yeah, well, like you said, marketing is a very, very, very big term. I think a lot of things go into marketing, like events go into marketing, community goes into marketing, even sponsorship and like selling goes into marketing, right? I would say one of the biggest challenges we face here is probably uh, like the sponsorship side of marketing. Like I said earlier, we are kind of in a bit of a niche, even within esports. We're in our own little corner, like collegiate. So sponsorship is, you know, we can't quite go for the super big guys like, you know, the Razors, the Logitechs of sponsorship because, to be quite frank, they don't have interest in like a college team, right? So it's kind of finding the right clients and right people to sell for sponsors. I, for me personally, that's kind of my biggest obstacle in marketing is, you know, securing these sponsorships and finding the right partners that not only, you know, actually, you know, are approved for our program but actually benefit our students, because we don't want random sponsorships that, you know, doesn't align with our views and doesn't actually benefit our students, right? So for me
Mhm.
personally, that's kind of the most difficult part of it.
And what are the like? Why aren't those big brands interested in collegiate esports? Like, what are they looking for in a university?
Oh, I'm gonna be really honest. I feel like those big brands, they haven't dipped their toes yet in collegiate esports. I think
Okay.
there is a lot of opportunity there, but I think they are um, in this time of in this era of content, like social media. Um, those brands are definitely really focused on things like influencers and content creators,
Hmm.
not so much as like another org or brand. If you look at these brands, there's like often content creators that are affiliated with the brand. It's not the organization. Like for I don't what's a random esports organization? Let's say 100 Thieves. They might not be directly associated with Razer, but they might have a creator that's associated with Razer. And I think
Hmm.
these big companies, that's kind of what they're going for now, is this individual creators and influencers, because that really is where all the numbers are currently.
Okay, interesting. And when you're talking to sponsors, like, what are your key selling points as 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 a program, and what kind of sponsors are you looking for that
Mhm.
align with you?
Um, Key selling points, I think this would apply to most colleges as well, is that whatever your student population is or your esports population, we personally have maybe like 200 to 300 actively engaged like esports, not students per se, but involved with the program, whether they're competitors or esports students or just helping out the program or playing games. um, the biggest selling point is that these are like actively engaged consumers. A lot of numbers are often inflated when you sell to sponsors, like, oh, on Twitter we have 5 million views. But how many of those 5 million views, are real people that will click a link and actually buy this product, right?
Mhm.
Versus on campus, we have like 10,000 students on campus that are on campus every day. They come into school, they come interact. We can interact with them in person. We can sell these products in person. That's kind of our main selling point. And that's great to sell to, honestly, local sponsors. We actually go for more local community sponsors. So, for example, recently we secured a deal with Pre-Fire. They're hand warmers. They're a hand warmer company, and they're about a 3-hour drive from us, but they came, dropped off some hand warmers. And the thing with these hand warmers is that our students are going to be using it, and if we hand it out on campus, people will actually see this brand. It's way better than just making a post and sending out a link, right? So that's kind of
Yeah,
the key selling point, is that these consumers that you have, these numbers that you have, they might not be as high as social numbers, but they are real, engaged consumers and students
yeah,
that you actually interact with and you can physically
yeah,
hand
yeah.
off product to. Yeah,
Yeah. Direct to the, yeah, it's more,
exactly.
yeah, amazing, amazing. We have another question from the chat. Do you encourage the players on the team to dip their toes in streaming and content creation?
I'm gonna be really honest. We don't encourage them as much as we should. We really should. It is kind of hard to kind of, I guess, like force that on them. Within our contracts, we do have clauses that our students, our competitors, are required to participate in content when we need, but we never really push them to stream like that. Um, Although we really should. It is kind of difficult too with a lot of our varsity players because their schedules are honestly truly packed. I know one of our most recent players, she mostly she streams a lot before coming to class or before coming to the college. But since coming to the college, with scrims, with matches, and then homework, now she only has maybe one day to stream if she's lucky. I would love to encourage our students more, but it is a really packed schedule for them. We do also have like resources for them to stream on campus, but it is really a matter of time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you encourage like more programs to put their players, other staff, as the faces of social media? Is it because like there's more and more, like I see on X as well, like more programs are putting their players, their staff, like humanizing, the
100%.
university. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Although we don't push our players to stream as much, that is our like number one goal, is to shine a spotlight on our players. In all our graphics, we always have a player's face on it. We post our players' photos all the time. We take photos of them. We post video content of them. It's all about the students, and even like all the students here know they should always be photo ready. We could record content right now, if we wanted to, and they'll be photo ready. They'll always have their jerseys on them. That is, the goal of the program. That is the goal of the college. And for something like post-secondary, like college and university, for your audience, it's really important to see that these people attending and competing in varsity esports, since it's such a new industry. It's important for people to see that it's real, right? I get so
Yeah.
many questions when people are like, "Oh, they play video games on scholarship? Like, how does that work?" And just showing them photos answers most of their questions because they actually get to see it. It's tangible.
Yeah, especially for international students that
Yeah,
have no idea. They
it's
see videos,
scary.
photos,
Yeah,
a good website with a good landing page, and they're like, okay, they take things serious, And
yeah.
maybe there's another program, that takes things serious, but like online, their presence is like, and the student will choose out of, that.
Exactly. It
So
just legitimizes it for people, especially international students, when you can't just leisurely come to the school and check it out. You do have to rely on these photos.
yeah. No, that's for sure. Another thing, so besides like events, like what other ways do you make like students engage in the program?
So at St. Clair, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we do actively have maybe like 200 to 300 students engaged. So like
Mhm.
I mentioned, so under me, like I have marketing and events, and then we
Yeah.
have the esports academic program. Like I said, it's a 2-year diploma, and then we also have the broadcasting team. So broadcast. Is its own kind of department. I work in tangent
Mhm.
with broadcast, but for the broadcasting team, like a lot of students get involved there. We have matches, like I said earlier, every single night. And as a result, there's a broadcast every single night. So students have the chance to get engaged there, learn casting, learn the back end side of things, and everything like that. So broadcasting is kind of another way to get involved. And then we do also have like job opportunities within our esports venue. So we have the
Mhm.
esports nexus, and there's job opportunities within there as well. It's just all different ways. And then on top of that, we also have the esports club, which is separate from our varsity program. So esports club is entirely student ran. They have their own budget. They're under, the student union, and you can get involved there as well. Honestly, there's so many different corners of St. Clair College where you can kind of get involved no matter what you're interested in. As long as you have a little bit of interest in gaming and esports, then you'll definitely find a place.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And also, like one thing I also like about your program is, well, we talked about Adrian, like how he posts about everything he does, videos, photos, and it's like if like we are trying to, like the whole team, we're trying to post about our daily work and our
Mhm.
daily ideas, but like each, like if everyone in the program could, like like have their, like engage with their communities and can see what they're doing in St. Clair, that's something that compounds in like people getting interested in getting your program. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Adrian does a great job of it. I will give Adrian that shout out. And I use
Yeah.
Adrian as an example a lot. Like I tell our other students, so many of our students do all these great things and take on these cool projects and they make cool stuff, but they never post about it. Social
Mhm.
media should be a tool. It's a free tool. It's a free tool. It's the biggest tool that you can use. And Adrian does it really well. So
Yeah. Sport attentionists. So
yeah.
yeah. There's another question. So, with such a busy cadence of events, matches, or campaigns, how do you fit a post-mortem review of what went wrong and what went right? Good question.
So for me personally, with at least my marketing team and students, we do have weeklies.
Mhm.
So there we usually talk a lot. But for mortem specifically for events, oh, that is hard. I will be honest and say not every single event always gets a proper post-mort report or meeting, but I I can say that for our bigger events like Saints Gauntlet Series or third-party events like Fragadelphia and things like that, we almost always schedule a post-mortem immediately after the event. Like we'll meet in person to chat immediately about the event while all our thoughts and experiences are fresh. And then there would be another follow-up with a write-up the next day just to make sure it's written down somewhere in paper and we can refer it back to it, the next time we run the event. Um, but I will admit it is difficult to always follow up on those. So that's why we always try to just do it on the spot right away.
Okay. Okay. And something that I had here put down that I wanted to ask you is I see a lot of posts about industry professionals in the collegiate space talking about storytelling. Storytelling. How do you implement storytelling in St. Clair, or how are you going to implement storytelling this year in St. Clair? What is your focus?
Yeah, so storytelling, I will say it's a bit of a hit or miss sometimes for us,
Yeah.
because a majority of our programs are 2-year long programs. So there's only so much, you can accomplish in 2 years. But this goes back to what I say earlier, we always just put a spotlight on our students.
Yeah.
So throughout the year, we are already always kind of telling their stories, whether it's through something as simple as like a funny photo that they took, or their match coverage. Every night we post graphics, whether they win or lose, we post. So we are constantly, telling that story, and it all kind of becomes cumulative at the end of the year. If we're in a big tournament or anything, there's been a proof of, the history of this team, of our players playing, winning, losing, going through the ups and downs. And we usually do put that forward in like video format to kind of summarize it all and put it out there. But there's no simple answer to this. Our
Yeah.
storytelling is constant. It's 24/7. We always post about them through their ups and downs, and then usually at the end of the year, we put out bigger videos, bigger content pieces to kind of, put that in the spotlight.
Yeah. And it's not always easy because, for example, for us, not every student, wants to be in social media in the spotlight, or like
Yeah.
they're very shy, they don't want to show their face. So like sometimes that.
That's why we put it in the contract. I mean, we tell them, this is for you.
Yeah.
This is for you. It's a good thing to get yourself out on social media. Especially a lot of our students, they
Yeah.
have professional aspirations. They have to understand that, they have to do these interviews. They have to get their photo taken. So they usually come around to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something maybe we have to start introducing in our contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
And that got me thinking, like, if you were a student, a first year student, okay, with your experience now, what are like skills that you would develop? For example, let's say in marketing that would be useful for the future, for your
So if
future.
I had my experience now, I
Yes.
think I would honestly templatize a lot of my things. It's a simple answer. I don't
Okay.
have a very deep answer for that. But
Okay.
when I first started out, I kind of just went with the flow. You know,
Okay.
I tweeted or made posts when I needed to. It was very reactive. But now, like after 2 years now in my role and just the experience with it, I would tell myself, my younger self, to be proactive instead of reactive. I would probably like actually schedule everything on a calendar ahead of time, templatize things. So if I pass this document off to or if I pass this task off to someone else, they can also understand how to do it. So that's what I would do.
Hmm.
Growing up in the esports space, a lot of things that you do is kind of reactive. An event comes up, you tweet about it. Events over, you tweet about it. But I never really prepared those tweets or posts out when I was younger. So that's definitely what I would do. Is I would tell myself to be more proactive and prepare ahead of time and prepare paperwork, put everything down in paper.
Yeah. No, especially I agree with that because like I also like spent a lot of time randomly during the day posting and stuff. Then
Yeah,
I would start working, and then I would and then start going on LinkedIn or X. And
exactly.
like when you structure your day, it's like this time is for posting. this time
Exactly.
it's for viewing and engaging with the audience, and then this time is for actual, audience
Right.
stuff. Well, yeah, no, amazing. Okay, we have another question. I'm curious to hear your take on an issue we face at Esportion. Okay, Kevin,
With
we
sorry?
need no. It's an issue that we face at Esportion.
Okay.
The yeah, we need to market Collegiate Esports to international students, which, as you said, can't access the uni to have a look. At the same time, we need to market to their parents. What would be your approach to getting the attention of both international students and their parents?
Oh wow. Um, that's I would say for at least for us, a lot of that attention, international attention, uh, this is a kind of a cop out answer. A lot of that international attention comes from the competitive side for us.
Mhm.
So a lot of these international students, obviously, they want to come here and start their life here, but they also don't want to come for a random program or a random team. So something we do a lot is we celebrate our accomplishments a lot on social media, whether it's a small accomplishment, like maybe we won this small little tournament, or we won a national championship. We celebrate that a lot, and we use more traditional media outlets to celebrate that as well. So for example, like our local paper, we write articles on the website, or we have esports articles within the St. Clair College school website. And it goes back to like legitimizing things, so showing off these accomplishments, um, that's helped us a lot with international attention. And when we're able to, talk to parents or students internationally, and we're able to send them links of these articles that we accomplished like through the school or anything like that,
Mhm.
it just helps legitimize it for these international students and families. And uh, especially for families as well, like I would be scared to send, if I had kids, like I'd be worried about sending them across the world for some random school. But if I, see these articles and see that, wow, this school, they put a lot of effort into it. They support this program. They're going to be safe there. It would ease my mind a lot. So for us, it is kind of celebrating all our accomplishments, whether you win an award, whether you get nominated in something, or whether the school, we win a tournament, or even sometimes we put out like our scholarship stats. Like last year we awarded this much money to our esports students for
Mhm.
scholarships. It just shows, international um, families and students, how much support the school can offer, and basically that they're safe here in this program, they have opportunity here.
Thank you for that tip.
I hope
We'll
that
take it
helps.
into we'll implement it. But yeah, and what do you think marketing like is heading in collegiate esports in the coming years? Like, what do you think programs are going to do or should uh, do
Um,
in
so
marketing?
collegiate esports has been kind of like stuck. I would say collegiate
Hmm.
esports marketing has been kind of stuck in a bit of a stalemate. Everybody's kind of too scared to do things beyond the norm. I think that is kind of a problem with collegiate esports marketing right now. Everybody stays within their circle. Everybody markets within their circle. I think what collegiate esports is missing is that, that tier one spice. So
Yeah.
teams actually, interacting with one another. I think that's a really big thing. And last year, we made a big push for that. We made sure to, try to coordinate with schools like Maryville, Winthrop, before we face them in person and land. Like we would chat with them like, hey, do you guys want to do collaborative content, or, have like be be rivals for the land, things like that. I think collegiate esports is really missing that kind of interaction in marketing. And I don't blame collegiate esports for that, because a lot of colleges and universities, their marketing is ran by students, or it's an esports club, and I
Mhm.
don't blame them for kind of staying within their circle and playing it safe, because sometimes, like, as a little guy, you don't want to, start anything with bigger schools or anything like that. But I do think that's what collegiate esports is missing, because, uh, each college and university should be more than the school. They should be a personality. They should be a brand. It's like the C9s and like the 100 Thieves and the Fly Quests of marketing. They always tweet at other brands, and they always talk to each other. They always make collaborative content, and that's what we need in collegiate esports, is just to kind of bridge that gap and work together.
Mhm. Do you think that they don't take those risks or are that creative in some aspects because also they have to, they work for a education institution and maybe there's things that maybe they don't want to risk it, or do you think that's not relevant? Like,
I
what's your opinion on
I'm
that?
I'm sure that plays a role, but the
Mhm.
kind of content I'm talking about collaborating, I feel like wouldn't even, you know, an
Yeah.
educational institution would even bat an eye. Like, I'm going to use ourselves as an example.
Mhm.
Maryville is our biggest rival. We face them all the time. We beat them when we're having a really good day. Um, Most of the time, Maryville, their teams are stronger than us. But when we play against Maryville, we almost always collaborate with Maryville. We say, hey, do you guys want to, make a match day post? Uh, for each other, like a special match day post or a video, where we're, I guess, like, showing that we're rivals, right? I think the problem in collegiate is that teams or schools don't want to start this content or put out all this content and then lose. I think a lot of schools are kind of like worried about that look, and I think that shouldn't be a thing. Like, Cloud9 is a great example. Whether they win or lose, they make content out of it. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's always well done and well received. And losing is all part of the game. And I think a lot of these schools make the mistake. They never post about their losses, or they go silent on social media when they lose. Like, that should not be the case, right? Like, at St. Clair, we post everything. We post win or lose. We could lose 4 games in a row and we'll still post about it. We'll still make a joke about it, right? So maybe college institutions like play a role in it, but I do think it's just out of fear of, I guess, like social media reputation or whatever it is.
Yeah. I haven't seen much of like collaborative content, and that's, yeah, for sure something that I should do more. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. And before we wrap up, is there something that we haven't mentioned that you would like to talk about?
Hmm. Honestly, like at the top of my head, just like fresh in my mind, the collaborative content, at St. Clair College, we're always open to doing that. I would love to work more with schools and collaborative content. Last year, when we had our grand finals matches against, I think it was Oklahoma Christian and Maryville, we made these like really fun videos kind of dissing OKC and Maryville, and they responded back, and we love
Mhm.
it. And we lost the Maryville match, but it was still so fun to, have that content. So my goal, is to collaborate with more schools. So there's any other schools, director, marketing managers here from other schools, please. St. Clair would love to make some content with you guys. That's
Yeah.
my final say about it.
And the content you do, does it mainly come from students, or you end up approving it, or do you come up with ideas, or they come up with ideas? Because like at the end of the day, like you want to target students like them. So like, who have that ideas and who has the final say?
It's really a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
My management style, I really want to push my students to push, to create their own ideas and give them the creative freedom. Um, at the end of the day, like, approvals do go through me. I do kind of approve the
Mhm.
final project. If I myself have a great idea, I usually bring it to the team, and I never force it on them. If they like it, then we will do it. If the majority of them, don't really understand the idea or don't really think it's a great idea, then we'll move away from it. So that's kind of how I work with my students, because I really, it's for them. It's not for me. So
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes I bring ideas, but oftentimes my students bring ideas to the table, and it's always a group effort. They prepare a write up, one pager, and then we go through it as a team, and then we'll decide whether it's good to go or not.
Amazing. Valerie, thank you so much for your time and for the knowledge bombs. Having here was very engaged to learn from you and stuff, and hope that many students and industry professionals got a lot of inspiration in ideas from what you said. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I was happy to be here.